Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark, the quick scope god Rodin. Also guys, today I tried skateboarding, slipped, the skateboard fell right out from under me, broke my wrist. Not really, but it hurts. I think I actually did break it. The doctors say I didn't. What do they know anyway? Anyway, we're back with another top 10. Today is top 10 sports cars under $8,000. We were doing 25K, then we did 20, then 15, then 10, then 9. Now we're at 8. Next video is going to be 7. You get the idea there. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Oh, before we do that though, thank you guys unbelievably much. We hit 3,000 subscribers today. Exactly 3,000, 10 minutes before I started filming this video. We just hit it. That's freaking awesome. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every one of you. I really am so happy that you guys are enjoying what I'm making. That is such a great feeling. But let's get into it seriously. Alright, so number 10 is the Ford Fiesta ST. That stands for Sea Turtle. And I know you want a Focus ST, okay? Everybody wants a Focus ST, but unfortunately that's a little bit out of our price range, so we're going to have to settle for the Fiesta ST. That came with a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline-4 that made 190 horsepower on top of a front-wheel drive platform, and obviously this car was a hatchback. So if you need a hatchback, this is a great choice for you. This is the only hatchback on the list, so if you need a hatchback, here you go. This may sound a little boring, you know, 190 horsepower front wheel drive, little 1.6 liter inline 4, but the car only weighed 2,500 pounds, which is extremely lightweight and at an extremely short wheelbase, making it great for cornering. Now, for aftermarket capabilities, it isn't that high, but since it's still a new car, you'll have to kind of wait to see where the aftermarket scene goes with it, but you still will have plenty of fun while riding extremely comfortable. Number 9 is the Porsche 944, not the turbo one, and it came with a 3 liter inline 4 that made 208 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive, baby, which is absolutely freaking sick in my opinion. And I know this isn't the flashiest Porsche out there, okay? It's not gonna turn heads, okay? But it's still a Porsche. If you don't have mechanical knowledge or a good chunk of change laying around, but you want a Porsche, it's probably a good thing that you can't afford one of the really nice Porsches, because you're going to be taking it apart, then it's going to be sitting in your garage forever, and you're never going to be able to drive it. This isn't the best choice if you don't have many mechanical knowledge either, since it is still a Porsche, but it's definitely the cheapest and the most forgiving. So, I mean, you got to pick your poison there. Parts and labor won't be cheap, but when the car is running, you'll completely forget about the $8,000 that you had to spend on some control arms. Number 8 is the Fiat Abarth 500. That 500 stands for 500 races that you lost in it. Coming with a 1.4 liter turbocharged inline 4 that made 133 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. And yes, that does sound unbelievably low, and it is low. It's even lower than the Fiesta, even lower than a Miata, but it only weighed at 2,300 pounds, which is only a little bit more than a Miata. The wheelbase is also the size of a freaking ruler, so turning will be a lot of fun. These things are absolute hidden legends. I mean, think about it. How many times do you see modified Abarth 500s driving around? You don't see it. Basically, no one drives these, especially in the car scene, because they're kind of small and they make very small power. But to me, I think they're really freaking cool. And on top of looking just really cool and being extremely unique, they sound amazing. Here's a clip to prove it. Number 7 is the Pontiac GTO. That stands for Get the Ostrich. Coming with a 6 liter V8 that made 400 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive, and this car has the most power out of any car on this list. So you may be asking yourself, well, Mark, why isn't this higher on the list? They look really good. Yes, I will admit, they look amazing. They are absolute tire slaying machines, but for just about anything else, they're a very bad choice. One, they're a Pontiac, so parts aren't cheap, since Pontiac is completely out of business now. They don't make cars anymore, let alone parts. They also aren't the most reliable, but you know, that's given with a sports car, so you gotta keep it in mind. And daily driving isn't the smartest, since you do have a 400 horsepower rear wheel drive car, especially up in the snowy areas. But I mean, they're extremely unique, extremely underrated. I mean, once again, how many of these cars do you see in person? Not a lot. So just, if you buy one of these, make sure you got some extra cash. Number 3 is the BMW Z3. We did the BMW Z4 in an earlier list, but now it's time to go with the little brother, the Z3, coming with a 3 liter straight 6 that made 225 horsepower, and it was once again rear wheel drive, and I'm pretty sure that is the exact same motor as the M3 of the time. I mentioned that last video. I'm standing by it. I think it's the same motor. Once again, this is another extremely lightweight car, which is weird since we've had already 3 lightweight cars on the list. But the Z3 is very underrated. You barely see these, especially in the States, and I don't know why. I don't get it. They look amazing while performing really well. They're really small like the Miata. Their lines are so freaking sick. It just looks so sleek, and I promise you, if you do buy one of these cars, they will skyrocket in price. They are going to be a collector's car. Number 5, halfway through the list, it's the Mark III Toyota Supra, coming with a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6, not inline 4, and it made 230 horsepower, called the legendary 1JZ GTE. I don't even want to say what that stands for because there's too many letters. And the car was rear-wheel drive, and unfortunately, very unfortunately, extremely underrated due to the big brother, the Mark IV Supra, taking the spotlight. Personally, I love the looks of these cars just as much, if not a little bit better, than the Mark IV. I understand the Mark IV is the better choice, but I do like the looks of these cars so much. They had pop-up headlights, their lines were amazing, their taillights were sick. Once again, not the best daily driver simply due to its age, but parts are actually surprisingly cheap, and since it's an old Toyota, it definitely won't be too hard for you to work on it, while also still being pretty reliable. Number 4 is the Audi S4 B7. Coming with a 4.2 liter V8 making 340 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive, which just sounds like an amazing package deal. It's like the Wendy's 4for4 but for cars, and due to it being a German V8, that's the reason I put it forth. Reliability is going to be an issue, but who cares when you have a car that's as fun as this one. Also, if you live up in a snowy area, the all-wheel drive makes it possible to drive it year-round, which is definitely a plus. These cars have a very weird cult following. The S4 has always had a very cult following. Audi guys, they stand by their cars, but for good reason. I mean, having all-wheel drive while also having a V8 that makes 340 horsepower for under $8,000, how could you not love that? Third place is the 8th generation Honda Civic SI, coming with a 2-liter inline 4 that made 197 horsepower. They were so close to 200, but they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. What are you doing, Honda? It was front-wheel drive, and I know that sounds way too small for the rest of this list, especially for third place, but the reason I chose this car is because I just absolutely love the Honda community, and on top of that, the true potential that you have with one of these, while also having an extremely reliable daily driver. You can make this car into a beast for very cheap, and it won't be hard to work on it, and even if you do get stuck working on it, you have a community that's as big as Thanos' army. They look very good. Not the best Honda Civic in my personal opinion, but definitely not the worst either. If you ever want to start to work on a car but have no knowledge how, the Civic is the perfect choice for you. Second place is the Ford Mustang GT S197, coming with a 4.6 liter V8 making 300 horses, and it was rear wheel drive. Once again, these cars are honestly pretty reliable. Surprisingly, didn't think that was the case, but I see a fair amount of people driving these year-round where I'm from, which is Connecticut, and there's plenty of snow up in Connecticut, and they still drive them around in a rear-wheel drive V8. I mean, I guess they got to be pretty good if they're doing it, and they're like grandmas too. So for parts, it's extremely cheap. Repairs are relatively simple, not the easiest but not the hardest. Fixing it yourself is actually pretty easy, and once again, these cars have a unbelievably massive community, one of the biggest in the car scene right now. So if you don't know how to fix something, there's going to be a YouTube video or a guy out there telling you how to. If you do buy one, just be careful, because we all know the meme, and we don't need any more of that. Number 1 is the Nissan 350Z, and if you know absolutely anything about me, it's that you know I love the 350Z. You knew this car was freaking coming. Simply put, this is the best car ever built. I heard one day, stock, they'll beat a Lamborghini Aventador. My source, just trust me, bro. Once I get my car running, I'm gonna try to find a Lamborghini Aventador, probably gonna race him, probably gonna win. But in all seriousness, these cars came with a 3.5 liter V6 making 306 horsepower, and on top of that, it was rear wheel drive, which is just a perfect combination. It's like pepperoni and pizza, or the Ballista in Phase Jev. I actually own one of these cars, if you didn't know, just telling you. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe, since I will be building that up. Shameless plug. But these cars, once again, have an absolutely massive community for them, especially now in 2021. They're just, the parts are absolutely everywhere. The work is pretty easy. It doesn't have the biggest engine bay, so keep that in mind. It is a great starter car if you're looking to get started in the car scene, but just be careful if you've never driven in a sports car before, since it does have a decent amount of horsepower and is rear-wheel drive. Alrighty guys, that is the end of this list. I hope you enjoyed. I sure did, since the 350Z got to make this list. You know it's a good list when the 350Z makes the list. But I appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. That hurt my wrist so bad. I'm telling you, I think I broke my wrist. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like the video. Comment down below what other cars you think should have made this list, because I'm still going to be doing 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I need some more ideas. I'm running out of ideas, since I'm trying to keep them different. I'm not trying to use any duplicates in any of the lists.